For me, disability is just some word. As a human, your capacities are not defined by functions of your body. I see a day when bodily disability has nothing to do with what you want to create. When you give yourself completely, surrender completely for what you believe in, really, that is when you source happiness.
Hello and welcome to Vikram's Incredible 1000, the Success Podcast. On this, we look to interview the best of the best and really understand what does it take to get extraordinary results at what we do so that we can replicate the same. Today, we have with us one of the most special people I've ever had the opportunity to speak to. He's a recipient of the Karamveer Chakra instituted by the International Confederation of NGOs with the United Nations that recognizes people who have the courage of conviction to think differently and to act on ideas which make a difference in our world. Quite a lofty statement. He's among one of the first India Inclusive Fellows offered by the India Inclusion Summit. He's the chief operator and creator of Astha, an organization that mentors and guides para-athletes and students to excel in their chosen fields. To add to all of this, he's a seasoned chartered accountant. It's my honor and privilege to host today on the show, Mr. Sunil Jain. Sir, welcome to the show.
Thank you for being so generous and kind.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure having you on the show, sir. You know, each person, they have their own journey. Each person experiences accomplishments at different stages in their career, and you've had a lot coming your way and you've come so far. So I'd like to know from you, sir, to facilitate all of this, what drives you to be extraordinary and incredible?
Well, first of all, I don't know what you mean by extraordinary, incredible. First of all, right? I just at the age of 32, I realized that there is lot in life that I can explore, and I somewhere at the age of 32 stopped living a life of convincing somebody of what I can do. Till the age of 32, I was living a life where I thought I need to I need to prove a point to belong to some place, right? So always chasing success, 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 and no amount of success was giving me an experience of being accomplished. Though year after year I had something to move forward, look forward to. But at the age of 32, I really discovered that there is much more to life than just proving a point. And that is when I started looking at the world, what is needed in the world, and then started focusing on if I can make a difference in persons with a disability, life in general, but particularly focusing on quality of life for persons with a disability. And that is my light. Every day I wake up thinking about that project. I sleep with it. Challenges are there, but these challenges are not those kind of challenges that we'll get worried about. These challenges are very empowering. So I look forward each and every day. So I think living life fully, right? Uh, no answers, no answer to any question, no solution to any question. And on the way to journey, in the way the journey, you discover whatever unique is there for you. So I always keep telling whenever I get an opportunity that most of the people they are busy gathering abilities and resources, and they think once they have the required ability and resources, they will plunge into their dreams. But what I have come to realize is once you plunge into your dreams, whatever abilities, whatever resources you require to fulfill that dream, or at least to live through the dream, they will fall in place. They will find you. I mean, that's the way of life for me. And if that is incredible and extraordinary, thank you for listening to like that. I mean, thank you.
Wonderful, sir. You mentioned that you stopped attempting to convince people. You know, we always try to make sure that everyone else is happy, but sometimes we ignore our own happiness in the process. So do you feel at some point of time you had to convince yourself that you had to make a difference in your own eyes? You had to look at yourself differently. Did you ever feel that?
Yeah, just for information, I at the age of 18 months, I got polio, because of which I was not able to walk on my legs. And my mom says it's not only not walking on my legs, I was lying like a vegetable when I got this at the age of 18 months. And after a lot of treatments till the age of about 18, 20 years of my life, I undergot a lot of surgeries, some therapies, you name the treatment, and my parents would have made that available to me. And today I can sit only because the effort of my parents, right? Somewhere during the journey, I started to think that I need to convince people that I'm capable of something, right? Because if I don't do, my fear was I'll be pushed to a corner. There's already so much competition, and if you're not physically capable of doing X, Y, Z, what other people do, so obviously my thought process was you will be pushed in a corner, and you'll have to survive on what people feed you on. So you will have to extinct your self-expression. That was a fear that was killing me inside, right? And that was a very imaginary fear, according to me. I realized that at the age of 32, that was an imaginary fear. That was not a real thing that would have happened. Then, in that whole process, I compromised many things. In the bargain of success, I compromised many things. So only at the age of 32, I recognized that, I mean, what a myth I'm living in. It was like a joke, right? So I realized, I saw that a 32-year-old man was living a life of 4-year-old boy.
Mm-hmm. So you feel, sir, that you liberated yourself. Would you agree with me on this?
Yeah, there was no, from that point in time, this happened through a very rigorous introspection, Vikram. And what enabled me, what facilitated that introspection was my participation in a program that is conducted by one of the very large and leading company, Landmark Worldwide. They offer a program which allows you with a very rigorous inquiry about yourself. So I sat through that inquiry for 3 days, like every day, like minimum 14 hours you're in inquiry. The conversations are thrown at you, and I went through that process, and that's when I really hit myself like, wow,
Mm-hmm.
there is let's end this game of proving to people that I am capable of something. That's so
Mm-hmm.
tiring, no? Like, you're already so much loved by your parents. You have enormous number of friends who take care of you, because I have not there has been nothing that I have not done in life, but still there is some craving for belonging. You always have the experience of there is insufficiency where you are. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's a bottomless pit actually. No amount of anything will fill you in that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I ended that at the age of 32, and that
Mm-hmm.
was complete for me.
Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot to relate to that, sir, because a lot of people, they struggle with people pleasing, and that ends up pushing them to do certain things that maybe they're not comfortable with, and then that just eats at them over a very long period of time. So having this realization, I feel, it really has done a world of good for you. I think the things that you've done since then.
Definitely, it's liberated. I mean, it's just liberating.
Yeah.
It's just liberating. It's not that there's a very thin line of difference. Right? You can get into a domain of arrogance,
Mm-hmm.
right? And or you can be like a complete acceptance of who you are,
Hmm.
with a lot of dignity and a lot of compassion for yourself and what's around you and people around, right? And that's what I mean when I say the way I am is complete.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing else I require personally to be complete. My body
Mm-hmm.
is complete. It's perfect the way it is. So one of the conversation that hit me was during that inquiry was, um, have you seen a perfect tree anywhere?
Depends on really how we define a perfect tree.
Yeah, there is no perfect tree. Tree is a tree. There isn't a perfect tree. Each and every mango tree will look different to you. Each tree
Mm-hmm.
is a tree, right? It's a unique. There's no perfection. It's a unique. So each
Mm-hmm.
and every human being is unique.
Mm-hmm.
If you can just get in touch with that uniqueness, that's liberation.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. I think I completely agree. And ultimately, the richness of the fruit that you get from these trees, I think that speaks for what the tree can actually do.
Yep.
So, sir, when I was reading your story, I found out that you went through so many challenges growing up owing to your disability. But despite that all, you pushed yourself to do many things that people in your position were unable to do. So could you please walk me through your journey from your childhood, describing some of these challenges and the accomplishments that have made you the person that you are today?
I can share the challenges, and in the process, if you feel something is accomplishment, I leave it to your choice, right? But for me, it has been phenomenal journey, and still it is. I'm 46 now, and still it is a journey. I don't see that I have reached any place. There's a lot to be done before I actually sleep forever. So in 1975 is when I was born. So I was born to a very middle class family. My father came from Rajasthan to do business. So he was struggling in between to establish himself. And I was a third child. I have two elder sisters before me. And at the age of 18 months, I got fever because I fell down through stairs. I was walking and I fell through about 18 steps while climbing. And I fell, and because of fear, I got fever. And the same night, doctor came and injected me. And next day, I collapsed. As I was walking towards the restroom, my mom said I collapsed on the floor. And my mother says before that, I was one of the most bubbliest kid on the street. I would not stay at home. I'll be all around places. And suddenly I am there lying like I can't move any part of my body. And if you ask me, were there my challenges? I don't know. What will a kid of 18 months know about challenges, right? For him, it was just something happened which he couldn't even comprehend. I think what challenges my mother and father had to go through and what other people had to go through to take care of me, I think these are their challenges. I mean, it is incredible that in the space of that, they could provide me whatever they could provide me. And today I'm speaking to you with, because it's only because of those initial effort, right? So some of the incidents, like when I was growing up, the one of the very important thing that was required, as you know, is education, academics. So after a lot of difficulty, I was admitted to one school, and till LKG, UKG, it was okay. And first standard, because the classroom was on the first floor, the management of the school said we cannot take risk. If something happens, it will be a bad name for the school, and also it is a risky, basically a risk of our life. So we don't want to indulge in that risk. So I had to sit at home for a year or two. Then my mom was not okay with that. She said somewhere Sunil has to study. He can't be just at home while the treatments were going on simultaneously. So I would go to some massages, sometimes some surgery. I will not be in the town for months together. My father and mother will be traveling for various places for treatment: Jaipur, Tirupati, Vellore. I mean, there are many, many places that they have taken me. So in the meanwhile, she found a school near the house, which is a corporation school, Kannada medium. And believe it or not, the school was something like this. You have one room. In the same room, you have four classrooms, one after the other. There are no walls. There are two boards in the room. One board is divided for two classes. So I am sitting in the first class. I don't know whether I'm studying first class or fourth class, right? I mean, that's the environment I grew up. And I would not attend school like I would attend one day a week, or sometimes months together. I would not go to school. But somewhere I don't know from where I got this uh, ability to comprehend things. I would understand very fast. And I've been topper throughout my schooling career. I have been topper. Then I completed somehow my primary school in Kannada medium. Then seventh standard completed. Then I got into high school. So I got into high school, which is an English medium. All along I was in Kannada medium, and suddenly you go to English medium. There are people speaking in English, and you land up in some alien world, right? And I'm so scared. I don't even know ABCD, to be frank, at the stage. So what happened was, one of the English class came, and teacher came into the room, and she said the way she will teach is she'll ask us to read the book. And I was shit scared. I was praying that my turn doesn't come, but you can't avoid it. The turn came. I had to lift my book, and as I was trying to join one letter and with the other and trying to form word and sentences, I realized that there's a tight slap on my face. I mean, she's like, if you can't read English, why are you here? That was her statement. And I had nothing to say. From then, I took it as a challenge, and within 3-4 months, I picked up. I started to learn. I don't know from where, but I started. I was like a crazy. I would read anything that is given to me in English. I'll sit, read, see news channels, and do many things just to understand and know English. And there also I picked up. I went on to be the number one student for the school from there also. 10th standard I completed being topper in the school. I got about 95% in 90 in SSLC. But according to me, my real challenge started at 10 plus 2. When the entire world started saying, now what? And there was some sort of a competition, right? And now people are asking, what will you do? Everybody said, I am going engineering. My friends will say, I am going for engineering. I said, I'll also go for engineering. When I said that, people will say, no, engineering is not for you. A lot of working required by walking and standing, that's not for you. So that was the first phase of my life when somebody told me that there's something you cannot do. And that is where the real challenge started showing up. And I started to prove actually. Rather than understanding why they are saying, I took it very personally. I didn't see the care behind what they are saying. I didn't see the commitment behind what they are saying. I took it like a challenge. Like you're challenging me. I cannot do something. I mean, that's the tone, right? That's the attitude. And with that, I started proving. And for a boy who was playful, scoring 95, 96%, now he's under tremendous pressure to perform. And POC scored 74%. So his performance is going down. So those are the challenging phases of my life. And then I somehow completed my PUC. Then I decided that no, this is not my field. So I started to believing people that this is not your field. You have to better change. So I moved to commerce, went on to become a chartered accountant. Even during chartered accountancy, you know that you have to undergo articleship. Now, it was challenge to convince people that I can also get trained practically. Many would say, don't worry, sit at home. Somehow you'll get the certificate. There'll be some chartered accountant who's kind enough to give you a certificate. I was like, no, I don't need that. I need to practically work and get trained. What's the use of not getting trained and just to be a chartered accountant? That's where I came from. So it was another challenge. So once you got into articleship, the next challenge was to actually get the work. Like you were made to sit in office for months together on a desk, thinking that you can only do desk job, not move around. That's another challenge. Then I had to keep on creating relationship with people, right? It was a constant challenge. Some became chartered accountant also. So after becoming a chartered accountant, I thought I have arrived at some place. Now the life will be rosy, rosy. I have achieved something. And then when rubber meets the road again, go searching for employment. People will say, yeah, you're good, but I don't know whether you'll be able to deliver on the field. There were apprehensions. Some people tell me directly on the face that, sorry, Mr. Sunil, will not be able to employ. We don't have the infrastructure to take care of you. We are not ready, though we are not ready. Or somebody will tell me very indirectly when I call them up to find the update, they will say, yes, I'm thinking, we are considering. So I have to understand what they are considering. I said, okay, thank you so much. So it was frustrating period, especially for 2-3 months after becoming a chartered accountant. It was really, really frustrating. So again, I said, okay, let me start my own practice. So I started the practice again. Like I started in 2005. I started my practice. 2005 to 2008 is the phase where I was fairly successful as a chartered accountant. I had my own office, but only 2007-8 is when I started really asking myself a question: what am I doing? When I look back for so many years, 31 years of my life, I saw, yes, every year I'm moving ahead. I'm dealing with all the challenges. But yet, this question came up, what makes people happy? What really makes people happy, right? What is this happiness all about? I started reading many self-help books and all. It's not like I was depressed or sad, but there's some inquisitive inquiry happening inside. Like, what makes people happy? Really? I see people, I have interacted with people, I know people who have tons of money, perfect body, the dream relationship. But if you speak to them honestly, till they say, no, man, there's something else is there, something is missing. I said, okay. Then I have people who I interact with, I know, who don't have perfect body or kind of money they want, kind of job they want, kind of relationship they desire. Yet, if you speak to them, they said, yeah, this is fine. I'm perfectly fine. There's more to life than all these things. So what is this? What is this as a human being we are chasing? What makes you happy really as a human being, right? So that's the inquiry I went into. And personally, that was the question I had for myself. I thought you reach some place, you'll be happy and you're arrived. No, you become chartered accountant. I thought that was a point, man. That was a breaking point according to me, right? I thought that is a breakthrough point for me. If I become a chartered accountant, I would have accomplished everything. Became chartered accountant after practice of 3 years. Still, I am searching for something. So I thought there's something more to life. So these are some of the challenges, and challenges are varied. Today also there are a lot of challenges, but those challenges are not personal challenges. There is much more fun way of dealing with whatever comes up in life. It is not personal to me anymore.
Mm-hmm. So, sir, would you say you found the answer to happiness that you were looking for? And what is that answer?
Well, happiness is just a chemical reaction that happens inside of you, right? Nothing else, scientifically speaking. There's nothing else to it. But I think what is worthwhile to notice is you have both emotion inside, all the emotion inside of you, right? When you give yourself completely, surrender completely for what you believe in, really, that is when you source happiness. There isn't any happiness out there that is waiting for you. That is within. But how do you source it? How do you tap into that emotion? Is when you completely surrender, like no nonsense, really completely surrendering to what you believe in without knowing how you will accomplish. You may not accomplish also, but just living the dream, just playing full out. And that for me is like, wow, if I can do that, wow, that is excitement. That is like a thrill.
Beautiful, sir. Beautiful, beautiful perception of what most people strive for, but very rarely accomplish.
I was saying, see, if you look around and observe a bit, right, what people are busy is finding a place to be comfortable. Will you agree that like they want a secure place?
Mm-hmm.
But if you really examine closely, you are thrilled by challenges. Your nature as a human being is you get thrilled by challenges.
Mm-hmm.
You start to use your faculty only when challenges are there. You happen to use your intellectual, the body that you have, the resources you have, your knowledge you have, or your intuitions that you have only when there are challenges. So you
Mm-hmm.
are used to deal with that challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So it is very contradictory that if I need to be happy, I need to be inviting challenges, right?
Hmm.
I need to be putting myself in a place where I have challenges, not the same kind of challenges. Boring. One of the access for you to be happy or generate happiness constantly is to discover challenges. Give yourself to bigger challenges.
Mm-hmm.
Like can you up your game every day?
Hmm. And also, I think somewhere, sir, among the things that you mentioned, it is overcoming these challenges that is what fuels us with the happiness that we're striving for. And then
Yes.
ultimately, we, you know, the person who we become for everything that we have overcome, I think that is what, the essence of life is based on some of the
Yeah,
things
and
you've
it
shared.
is not a permanent thing, right? That happiness is just a momentary emotion or experience. That is not a permanent. It is not like you will have it and you will carry with you forever. I was
Mm-hmm.
reading the autobiography of Andre Agassi, The Open, and in that book, he hates tennis from the beginning. He hated tennis, but he played tennis just because his father pushed, right? And at the
Mm-hmm.
age of 22, I think he won the first Grand Slam. And he says the happiness of winning the Grand Slam lasted only for a second or two. After it was back to square one.
Mm-hmm.
So what are we chasing? What are we really chasing for? I mean, so I think every moment, for me, according to me, the real essence, the juice in you comes out when you are engaged in challenges.
Mm-hmm. Truly, sir.
You are consumed by challenges.
Mm-hmm. You look at people who are constantly going after certain things and they want certain things for themselves, but it's actually quite contrary. We always remember the things that we give, not so much the things that we did for our own selves.
Right.
So we've all been on the receiving end of failure and rejection in some way, shape, or form in our lives. So could you elaborate on some of those few critical times where you perhaps failed or you got rejected and it really hit you? In those situations, what made you persevere, and what advice do you have for people who are maybe going through tough times right now?
One thing we need to realize, and I have realized over a period of time, world was not designed taking into consideration your arrival. It was not designed for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got into this world the way it is. Now it is for you to adapt, and then nobody's rejecting you. They are doing their job. They have their concern. They have their priority to deal with. Nobody's rejecting you. Nobody told me that I'm rejecting you. They shared their concerns, their incapacities, maybe to deal with me, right? Then it is for me to ask a question: how can I be relevant in this situation? How can I be relevant to this person in relationship who is with me? It could be my brother, my spouse, my mother, whoever it is, right? Or it could be my colleague, my organization. Can I be relevant? When you are relevant, where is the question of being rejected? You are welcomed. You are really welcomed. So my strive has always been: can I be relevant? Can I be relevant? This question I keep asking: what is my relevance?
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you're insignificant. Nobody needs you. Come on, let's be real.
Mm-hmm.
Who needs you?
Mm-hmm. So you try to find that place within yourself where you try to be useful in a seemingly useless situation. You find a way within yourself, or you strive to search for answers.
Yeah, equip yourself. Equip yourself.
Yeah. So since we have these resources available to us, at that point of time, whenever we are put under pressure, we strive to find a way out. Rarely, if ever, do we able to, are we in a position to see the light and then jump out? So what's your advice for people who are like, under the pump in that situation? How do they look at things differently?
First thing is, you need to know that nobody's putting you under pressure. This is your choice. You have the choice to walk out of everything that you are doing. First thing, if you have any notion that somebody is pushing you, then no amount of light or resources will be any help to you, because you have no opportunity to take responsibility for the situation or what you need to do. You're not thinking for yourself. So first thing is, what I tell is, just examine: is it your self-expression?
Mm-hmm.
Have a straight conversation about it.
Mm-hmm.
Have a straight conversation about it. If you think somebody is pushing you, speak to them. Who's pushing you? No, nobody's pushing you there. They have certain commitment. For example, when I was, is a very funny thing. I laugh when I remember this. When I was 18-year-old, right, I was undergoing this treatment, lot of treatment. For me, I was okay with my body. I was okay with not walking. For my father and mother, said no, you have to walk. For me, undergoing those treatment was a pressure. It was really pressure, pain, really pain. It's a physical pain, real pain. I don't want to walk. I mean, what's the big deal in walk? That's my philosophy and logic.
Mm-hmm.
So I could say that I was under pressure, right? And in fact, you'll believe it or not, at some stage I was actually walking on crutches. And at one point, I became so adamant that I will not undergo this treatment anymore, because that was coming in the way of my academics.
Mm-hmm.
I said, this is not important for me. What is
Mm-hmm.
important for me is academics.
Mm-hmm.
So somehow I convinced everybody to give up those treatment with force, with blackmail, or what you call whatever. I got what I wanted. But if I had the ability at that point in time, if I had that maturity to think, to communicate, saying, okay, this can also be done, this can also be done. Let us have space for both. And from their angle, from my parents' angle or my friends' angle, for them, only walking was important. Academics was not that important in their version of future. If we had a platform where we both could meet and interact, right? Not that there's any repent on what happened, not there's any regret. There's something else could have been created, right? So if you are right now, if you are experiencing some pressure, etc., first thing to resolve is, are you choosing what you're doing?
Mm-hmm.
Really, are you choosing? And once it is your self-expression, then the next question is, even if it is my self-expression, even then I have challenges which I cannot deal with.
Mm-hmm.
There I would say, just take the next available action, not knowing
Mm-hmm.
anything. Whatever available action is there, you take it. Have the faith, believe in yourself, take that action. Whatever that action, don't worry about the outcome. Take that one action. And I have learned whenever I have taken those actions, one is you will learn to fly, or you will find a ground to land on. Nothing else will happen. Just take that action. Just go ahead and take that action. The
Mm-hmm.
universe will come in rescue of you.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful, sir. Wonderful. I think that just opened my eyes to so many things where I have personally, felt like there was no way out. On that note, today you run an organization. Fittingly, the name of it is Astha, which means undaunted self confidence. And I just had a question. When you founded this project, what was the purpose and vision behind it? Was there any attempt that you made to give to others the foundation and the confidence that perhaps you initially lacked through your formative years?
The idea was to have persons with a disability live life of complete participation and contribution. So if you look around today, especially in our country, given the kind of diversity we have, kind of cultural backgrounds we have, socioeconomic condition, disability is still considered as a disease. Or some people, if you really examine, study some researchers, people have come to believe that it is some past janma's karma. They are cursed.
Mm-hmm.
So parents still in rural areas, you will believe it or not, have persons with a disability tied up to their cots. They don't want to bring them out and forget about the kid expressing himself or herself. And that is disturbing. That is really, really disturbing. That is really disturbing. And I thought, if having gone through the kind of journey I have gone through, if I can make use of my experiences, my intellectual, my academic knowledge to enable individuals with disability to find a way to live life of complete participation, that will be worthwhile. That will be worthwhile. So that's the journey we are on. Still, it's never ending. I myself wake me up every day through this project. Whenever I like, so do I want to participate completely now in this project? Yes. So break the barriers, go ahead. So that's what we try to do through this project. I see a day when bodily disability has nothing to do with what you want to create. For me, disability is just some word, according to me.
Mm-hmm.
As a human, your capacities are not defined by functions of your body. And there are many stories. There are many stories. But why that possibility is limited to few people? Why is that limited to few people? So if we can come together and provide that platform, sharing platform, deal with people's concerns. Sometimes just listening to people resolves many things. Just listening to people can resolve many things, right? So that's what we want to do, and we are trying to do.
Mm-hmm. I think, sir, with this simple notion that you're going in with, that, you want to serve other people who have, in some way, who are currently facing the challenges that you have been through, and then giving them, that peace of mind that, hey, it'll be okay. I've gone through this, I have overcome, and you can too.
Yes,
So that makes a
they can
lot of
find their unique
sense.
expression. I mean, I keep on telling to people, like, don't worry about your resources, what you have. See, for me, it is a disability. Everybody has their share of challenge. For some, their height can be a challenge. I may laugh about it, but for if you ask that person what he or she is going through, they know their world. For some people, financial situation may be a challenge. For some, even gender may be a challenge. Like, why did I born like a girl or a boy? Man, I would have been better off being a boy or a girl. You never know. That could be a challenge. For some people, why did I took birth in this family? You never know. You never know. For some of them, they didn't get education, their degree they wanted. You never know what people are dealing with. Everybody has their own share of challenges. Mine is little more obvious. That's all I can say. And actually, I think I'm fortunate that I cannot hide. It's very obvious, right? I have to deal with it. It's very obvious. I have to deal with it. That I think is a fortunate thing to happen. We don't have a space. Let us accept, Vikram, that we don't have space for people to really share their challenges. Not many will have confidence in you that they can come and share with you or me openly what they are dealing with. We are all always, like, quote unquote, afraid of being judged.
And you feel like all of the work that you're putting into this organization now is basically in an attempt to make sure that no one else goes through the same things.
Yes. I would not say not go through, but there can be a more scientific way to deal with the barriers and challenges. It is not a rectification of anything. The moment if I don't want anybody to go through what I have gone through, then I am negating and invalidating my journey. That's the journey. My journey has been very perfect, enormously phenomenal. I'm learning, still learning. I've learned a lot. So as I told you, I consider it as a fortunate for me. There's absolutely no repent of whatever has gone through. So it is not a question of people not going through what they went through. But if there can be a channel, I was very fortunate, right? I had mother, father who could take care of my basic necessities. I had wonderful friends who could take care of me. I had wonderful teachers. So if I can create an ecosystem that I was having, and they in their ecosystem, they will go through whatever they have to go through and evolve. Because it again comes from, if you're not dealing with challenges, you will not evolve.
Wonderful philosophy, sir. I mean, giving others a chance, exactly, replicating the kindness that you experienced as a child. I think that speaks volumes about the person that you are and the vision that Astha brings together. On that note, this organization Astha, it looks to mentor young individuals, and we know that mentorship plays a vital role in the life of anyone who really is aspiring to do something worthwhile. So could you just elaborate a few of the key qualities that you look to nurture within these young minds?
Can I interact with people in a way that they get hungry about dealing with challenges? Break the resistance for challenges. Welcome challenges. That's the biggest quality to have. Right? Welcome the challenge. That's the life of master. You cease to be a master if you have no challenges. You cease to be a master. So one of the quality, I actually consciously intimidate people. Really. I intimidate people, like really. Can I confront them can I push them to the walls to discover their challenges? Take them out of comfort zone. That's one of the quality I try to imbibe through my sharing. Sometimes just sharing, sometimes some hand holding, sometimes some enabling, sometimes just providing what is required in those situations. You never know what is required. But always I strive for, can I make this human being self-reliant? If an individual interacts with me for 3-4 months, after that, I don't want that person to come back to me. I don't want them to come back to me. They should be able to take care of themselves. In fact, they should be able to take care of another 5-6 people. That's what I look for. That's what I strive for.
I think that's a wonderful quality to strive to bring out in someone who is possibly struggling with something huge. And I often find myself asking people, are you really hungry for success? Are you really willing to put in the effort necessary to achieve what you want? And every time I find that people want success, they really want to do well for themselves. But rarely, if ever, are they willing to go through the challenges? Are they willing to put in the effort necessary? So this quality of, instead of pushing away the challenges, because that is exactly what is keeping you from what you want. So instead of looking at the challenges as something that is possibly going to restrict you, welcome it, see it for what it is, and then break past it.
Yeah, deal with it. Let's deal with it. I mean, you have everything that you need to have to deal with it. That's the confidence one has to have. You have everything. Really, you have everything to deal with whatever you need to deal with. And without dealing with those challenges, I mean, there is no way out. There's no way out.
Mhm.
Way to break through is through it, right? Only way to break
Absolutely.
through is through it. You can't maneuver around it. And in fact, that is the one of the reason why we chose sports as a medium for empowerment for persons with the disability. Because sports, what happens in sports is you are dealing with your body physically. Maybe, perhaps, first time you get in touch with each and every part of your body when you're engaging in sport. Whether you have disability or no disability, when you're playing sport, you hit your current capacities.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever may be the current capacities, you come to a reality check. Okay, this is what I can do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you want to engage with the sports further, you need to break some barrier.
Mm-hmm.
Physical barrier, emotional barrier, or barrier to interact with people. Accept yourself, go ahead. And that allows you to break through scientifically, right?
Mm-hmm.
Entire psyche of yourself and accepting the body, training your body to adapt. There's a lot of benefits that are available for an individual when they engage in sport for their own self-development. And that's one of the reasons why I chose sport as a medium for empowerment.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful, sir. I think sports is one of the things that I think it allows people to see another side of themselves, and whatever limitations we have, I think sports gives us the opportunity to really see ourselves in a different light, because often
Yeah,
it might be that it's in my head, but then something happens in the real world that uh, pushes me to question what is going on in my head, and then my entire world
exactly.
changes in a moment. So wonderful.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So often we find that people, despite people seemingly have it all on some occasions, and then there are some people who literally come from nothing and then they struggle, and that is a huge challenge for people. But getting opportunities in life, getting a platform where you can shine and show the world how great you are at whatever you do, that is something that not everyone gets. And that is one of the reasons why some people either become successful or they don't. So what would you say, in a world where such golden opportunities are hard to come by, should a person who is out to fulfill a dream, goal, or desire look to do?
I come from a very different tangent to answer your question, Vikram.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about our success. You said how great to know how great I am.
Mm-hmm.
See, you are already complete, is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
The goals that you want to create, if you think they belong to you,
Mm-hmm.
to that extent you will struggle. There's no end. There's no end to it.
Mm-hmm.
If you just alter the context a bit and realize whatever goal you want to accomplish, that goal actually doesn't belong to you only, at least. It belongs to many more people. Many more people. You take any goal, no?
Mm-hmm.
You take any goal. They're not personal to you. You're working in an organization. Your success is correlated to the success of the organization. You cannot be successful when the organization is not successful. And
Mm-hmm.
if you go and speak to your boss about making the organization successful, you are included there. You don't have to talk about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You are included.
Mm-hmm.
So you talk from one level up. You are here. Mostly people talk about only themselves. If you can pause for a minute and have a global view
Mm-hmm.
or an organizational view, and then interact with the environment, and you have a part of a role to play in that whole cycle, right? You have a part to play, and there is no limit to it. You can be, sky's the limit then, right?
Mm-hmm. I think that's a wonderful perspective, primarily because one, that this explains why leaders create leaders and they just don't always look to put themselves in the limelight. And I think when you shift that perspective, that every goal that you possibly have is not your own, and even if it is right now, it can be in some way expanded to other people and how it can impact them, and that brings in the opportunities or the chances that you've been striving for so long, and that is what allows everyone to win.
Definitely.
I think you've given me and everyone listening a lot of food for thought with regard to how they can look at their struggles, their challenges, and why things are maybe not going their way. So, sir, now I have a question where, when someone sees a disabled or disadvantaged person, all they can see at that point of time when they see a disabled person or a disadvantaged person is their limitations. For anyone who sees themselves incapable of something, where they believe they can't do something, or they feel like, you know they find themselves giving up too soon, how can we invoke a new thought process in such people? How can we get them to see those possibilities in that hopeless situation?
You need to engage in conversation. Basically, it's a conversational domain. It's not real,
Mm-hmm.
right? And disability is always correlated to your goal. Example, can you climb Mount Everest? This is a question to you.
I
Can you climb Mount Everest?
if
Now,
I believe I can, I suppose I
no, go and
could.
try. You have to go through whatever process you have to go through. You have to learn many things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have the dilemma now. It is not as simple as if I tell you, can you go to the second floor of your house? Will you say, I think, I believe? Will you say that?
No, I won't.
What will you say? What will you say?
Of course I can.
Yeah, exactly, right? That's your ability. You know where to go. You have ability because you're trained in that. You're adapted to the situation. I'm just flipping the question and asking, can you climb Mount Everest? Then you have some thoughts. Now, you are disabled in that context.
Mm-hmm.
You're disabled in that context. So the first thing is to make aware people, boss, what do you want to do? What is your disability? Let us talk about, no? What is that you want to do that you cannot do? I used to crib sometime that I cannot open the door of my house when guest comes. I'm sitting in some chair somewhere, bell rings. I cannot just run and open the door, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then for a moment I will like, I'm disturbed, oh man, I can't even open a door for my guest. Or I cannot even fetch a glass of water for my mother. Right? Now if I shift from me to the goal,
Mm-hmm.
the goal is what? My mother getting a glass of water. Is that important? Or me walking and getting water is important? If I choose, there is no disability. I can create structures to open the door, get the water. I can shop for my family. I can do anything. If I'm not doing, I can have it done by somebody, right? So the basic thing what I'm trying to communicate to you is when you have an occasion to interact with persons with the disability, first you don't get bogged down. Get related to them from their aspiration. And as you're trying to find out their aspiration, what will naturally happen invariably is you will get into your head judging, oh, is it possible? How will he or she will do it? This is difficult. Why are he choosing that? Why are those that's internal communication that happens with yourself. You need to discipline yourself that okay, this is our my reality.
Mm-hmm.
If this man wants to do that or this aspiration, let's talk about in real terms. For me becoming a chartered accountant, right? People say, oh, you are so great in spite of your challenges, you have become a chartered accountant. Internally, I'm saying, man, I'm not mentally retarded, man. I'm not intellectually disabled. I didn't have to have my legs to become a chartered accountant.
Mm-hmm.
If you can enable me to go to a classroom and make me sit there and listen to the chapter lesson the lecturer is giving, Whether Vikram is listening to the lesson who's having two legs to walk on, whether Sunil is listening to the lesson who cannot walk, makes no difference
Mm-hmm.
to comprehend that lesson. So first we need to get real and take out all the emotional charge around this body functions.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I would encourage people to interact with persons with a disability, whether they're brother, mother, sister or friend, or even for parents, their kids or teachers. We need to get real with them.
Mm-hmm.
And also for persons with a disability, they also have to start being real.
Mm-hmm.
Stop saying that because of my bodily disability, I am like this. There's no correlation. If you really look at, there's no correlation.
So stepping out of what that person may be thinking at that point of time, and looking at, you know, the goal that they have set for themselves and where they are, trying to find a bridge of sorts, if that is possible, or in some way, shape or form, mold the goal towards what you are capable of, what you are really capable of. I think that's a good way to go about it.
No, a little different. Don't
Mm-hmm.
worry about what you're capable of. Who will decide what you're capable?
Mm-hmm.
Who will decide? That's the question.
Mm-hmm.
Who will decide? Nobody can decide what you're capable of.
Yes.
Say what you want, go after it, and the things will fall in place. So again,
Right.
I'm telling you what I told in the beginning, that most of us are busy making ourselves capable to plunge into what we really want to do.
Mm-hmm. When we've always been capable all along.
Yeah, may not be, but the thing is, surrender to what you dream of, plunge into it.
Mm-hmm.
You will find the ability on the way.
Mm-hmm.
You will find the ability on the way, whatever ability you require. It's like learning swimming, Vikram. It's as simple as
Mm-hmm.
that, learning swimming. You can't learn swimming sitting at the bank of the river or swimming pool slab and thinking, oh no, I want to become blah, 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 and keep sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
You push yourself into water, or allow somebody to push you into the water. That's the only way. That's the hard reality of life.
Jump in even if you don't know how to swim.
Exactly. And trust yourself. You have all the ability to learn swimming.
Mm-hmm. Lovely,
You have
sir.
all the
Lovely.
faculties to learn swimming. There is no doubt about it.
Lovely, lovely.
Trust your coach, trust your environment, trust the world. It will work.
Mm-hmm. Lovely, sir. Beautiful perspective. You know, one of the larger goals that you're currently pursuing is to help differentially abled students pursue higher education. And your organization, Astha, looks to provide scholarships to help them out. Personally, as a well established chartered accountant, how do you feel your education has transformed you as a person? For parents and students who are listening to this, how much emphasis do you feel needs to be given to formal education in one's life? Does a degree in life education also need to be thrown in there for good effect? What would you say?
See, Vikram, it is not a question of degree. It is the process to get the degree, right? The amount of interaction you have with your environment. You get to meet people,
Mm-hmm.
right? You need to get to see the world. That is more important.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, even if you go through the entire process
Mm-hmm.
of 3 years of articleship in a chartered accountant, and you don't become a chartered accountant, but you will come out as a whole new human being.
Mm-hmm.
So while education is important, but it is not about degree. Degree doesn't tell you whether you are educated or not.
Mm-hmm.
Education is about your ability to interact with the world. Can you learn that? And if I can provide those kind of opportunities for people. Now, just we got this national education policy, right? There's so much shift of the approach that tells us that now we have started thinking to make like more of experiential learning, real term learning, rather than adhering to some textual knowledge. So yes, it is important to go out, go to school, engage with your friends, be
Mm-hmm.
with the world. Basically, don't confine yourself in a walls of your home. Go out, create opportunity to interact with the world.
Mm-hmm. So it's not so much the education or the degree that you get through your education, it's what the education makes of you as a person. That is what helps us evolve.
Yeah, yeah. So we need to be uh, not mistake education equal to degree is what I'm trying to communicate.
Hmm. Hmm. You can be very well educated without having a degree.
Of course, of course, of
Hmm.
course.
Lovely, sir. I'm sure with all the life education that you have given us now, we are in a much, much better position to look at our goals and our aspirations and, look to, improve things further in every possible way. I have another question for you. If you could go back in time and you saw yourself at your very lowest and you were struggling like anything, what message would you give to yourself at that point of time? And considering where you have reached today, and as per my perception, it is pretty amazing. Would you change anything and why?
No, honestly, no, Vikram. I will not want to change anything because the downest point of my life is the point which had me where I am today. I will definitely not want to change anything, any bit of it
Mm-hmm.
about myself. No, I don't want to change. If the moment I change, then I am losing the opportunity of whatever I have learned through that, and I wouldn't have learned what I have learned. So it's perfect. Really, it's perfect. The way it is, the way it is not, the way it was, the way it was not, is perfect.
Mm-hmm. No regrets whatsoever.
Absolutely no regret.
Hmm. And even though, there are lots of people out there in the world, every day they're going through some challenge, they're struggling, or they're looking at themselves of, that I can't overcome this. And at that point of time, if they give themselves that option, they give themselves that insight that, yes, I have the power within me. And at that point of time, if they just see that this is a platform that they can use and talk back, like look back later in the future to say, hey, I am what I am because of that,
Yeah,
that will like awaken us in every possible way.
yes, yes. In those moments, what will wake you up is the frustration to the ordinariness. If you can get frustrated to your ordinariness enough, you will wake up.
Hmm.
Most of us are comfortable with our ordinariness. That has not frustrated us enough, right? You when you hit the crisis, that is where you get frustrated.
Hmm.
So you can create that crisis, what I say, right? By having some kind of a discipline practices. So people quite
Hmm.
often ask me, what makes you uh, so clear in your thoughts, not disturbed in spite of all the challenges. I'm doing kind of a project that we are dealing with breakdown every day. Like I'm currently working with a project of having uh, India's first wheelchair tennis training academy, completely accessible. And I have set a date also. I'm set end of June 2022. First of all, people tell me, "Are you mad? Why do you even say the date, man? Why you take the risk of saying date and fool yourself?" In 2016, I said 2018. Didn't accomplish. But I'm not repenting. I know why I didn't accomplish. I'm not shameful about it. But I cannot now hide behind saying that no, I will not. I will be cautious now. Let me not give the date. No, I'm not saying that. I have my learning. I'm saying 22 June end, we will have the academy up and running. So when people ask me, like, how do you get to be operating in life the way you operate? So what people are seeing just the out result or the way I'm operating, but not many people are aware of the practices that I follow. So after so many years, I have come to understand that the kind of day-to-day practices you follow, right? That is at the core of your power or your self-expression. I mean, that is very, very critical. Like as a performer, as a champion player, right? If you ask any champion player, he or she will have their routine practices. They don't compromise on. Simple thing called waking on time, going to bed on time. So I have it, and it is not easy. Every day you have to do the repeat the task. Every day you have to do the same thing, and you have to keep conquering your mind over it. So when you have certain set of practices, and this is for anything you want to do, there are set of practices that you can inculcate, and if you can focus on just the practice. For
Hmm.
example, if you want to be a musician, all you have to focus on sit for an hour or whatever time you have said at that particular place, open your mouth and rehearse, practice. Is there a right practice, wrong practice, perfect practice? Nobody knows anything. You're just going, doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is like just showing up for the practice. So like that, if you can think and create certain practices, right? Lot of
Mm-hmm.
power. You'll be left with lot of power. There's a lot of access to power. A lot of access to thinking. Your thinking matures. A lot of things that happens. Development happens.
Mm-hmm.
So I have set up practices that I follow every day. For example, waking up at a particular time, reading every day half an hour book, having particular calls, eating your lunch on time, making a list of action that I need to take for a day. So this is one of the religious practice I follow. Every week on Monday morning before 10 a.m., invariably you'll find me planning for the next week. Like I'm not really clear whether whatever I say will I be doing or not. But the practice is to sit, whatever you had planned for the last week, take a stock of those actions. From there, plan the action for the next week. And this is I follow religion. It's been like about 6-8 years now. Like I
Mm-hmm.
do that every Monday, wherever I am. So in this book, I read every. So if you look at this is a week of my week. I would have written here top week number 28 of the year. So next week is the next 29.
Mm-hmm.
So and these are my practices, daily practice. So I take a stock. Did I do this? Did I not do it? So whenever I am not following this for a couple of days, I drain out my energy. I'm very clear. My charge turbo charger is this. I charge myself when I'm feeling low, not thinking well, feeling lethargic, or have low confidence, don't know what to do. I said go back to this. I look at the list and get turbocharged. So
Mm-hmm.
these are the few practices I think which makes me be alive, give me an access to power ongoingly.
Mm-hmm. I think there is just so much to take away from our conversation that we've had today, sir. For me personally, some of the lessons that I took away: number one, welcome challenges into your life. And even if the challenges do come your way, well, be ready to face up, give yourself options, and you can overcome. Additional to that, I think each one of us, whenever we go through these challenges, they transform us in one way or another towards becoming a better person, and I think that's what it's all about. And at the same time, show up. If you're I was going to ask you if there's one action step that you can encourage people to take away from today's talk, in order to move one step closer towards success. And I think you already gave it to us, and that is to show up.
Yeah, just show up. Period. Show up.
Yeah.
Show up. Don't worry about your preparedness. Don't worry about the result. Don't ask about what will happen. Just show up. Rest will be taken care.
Yes, absolutely, sir. On that note, I just want to say that if you're looking to unlock the science and the secrets of success, then jump in on my next webinar. I just want to say, Sunil, sir, thank you so much for sparing your valuable time and giving us wonderful insights that have really invoked within me, and I'm sure everyone listening to this, a new insight as to how to look at life, how to look at challenges, how to look at our own capabilities and whatever we have within us. You have a famous quote that goes like this, and that is, your ability is your responsibility. So I think that just brings together this wonderful conversation that we have had. Thank you so much, sir. I just wanted to give a big shout out to you. So I'll be linking Astha's website down below. Please go check them out. Support them in any way you, if you're able. Please go support them if you can. Any final messages?
Thank you so much, Vikram, for having me an opportunity to interact with you. It's always pleasure to interact with anyone and share. It
Yes, sir.
also reconnects me to many things, right? That's the
Mm-hmm.
opportunity, and really enjoyed having conversation with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell this, right? The biggest ability of a human being is to think. And somewhere, because of the so much of advancement of technology, life that is driven by apps,
Mm-hmm.
our lateral thinking is getting extinguished.
Hmm.
So if you find a way to think for yourself, I mean, that's the biggest gift one can give to oneself. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's a most underutilized muscle in our body is our brain.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the final message I wanted to like start thinking for yourself.
Wonderful, sir. Thank you once again for these lovely golden nuggets that you've given throughout our conversation. And also the very fact that, utilizing this power of thinking, that is what fuels success. So with that lateral thought in mind, I just want to say that if you're looking for more amazing podcasts like this, where we interview amazing, inspirational people who have been there and done that, who can show us the ropes and actually get us to where we want to go, then jump in onto the next episode of Vikram's Incredible 1000, the Success Podcast. Until then, this is Sunil, sir, and myself signing off, and we'll see you next time.